Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows. The year is 2023 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. So this is going to be season 5, episode 21, the penultimate episode of the show. And this is called Objects at Rest. So full spoilers for the episode as always. So yeah, we said last episode that we weren't really sure what this one was going to be. If it was going to actually pick up straight away, and it pretty much does, much to my surprise, honestly. And it's kind of a weird structure because of that. It's kind of like just continuing the checklist of goodbye, setting up what the station will be after like all of our main characters have moved on, and then there's some interesting things in the back half, some of which I like, some of which I don't like as much. So we'll get to it. What did you think of Objects at Rest?
I think the last one was definitely stronger as far as the goodbyes go. Mostly because we got so many of the important ones last week. It was still good to see almost everybody in this episode, even if it's just like during a montage or something. I thought it was all right though. It didn't like I didn't get the emotion I thought I would. Maybe in the next episode.
I mean, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the emotion of the finale. I think this one's a little stilted because of how, like you said, we did a lot of the goodbyes of like we see a little Garibaldi and Jakar this episode, but their proper goodbyes were last episode. So it does feel like we're kind of doing some of the rest now. There's actually a shot like halfway through the episode that I thought could have been the final moment of the show. Which is the salute between Sheridan and then all like basically like it's not all new characters. Obviously, Zach's there, Bridge Boy,
it's like 50-50.
Bridge Boy's there, but you've got like what essentially is the new main team of the station, like all saluting Sheridan and Sheridan saluting as he's leaving. I thought that honestly, you could have ended the show with this moment if you wanted to. I'm not mad that they didn't.
You
but
could have. It was like 20 minutes into the episode when it occurred, and I was like, okay, I don't know. Like I just didn't feel the impact as much. Maybe I would have if it was like the final moment or something.
Oh sure. I mean, obviously, yeah. Like like, even just your body clock is like, we're not done yet. Like we're not ready to be over yet.
Yeah.
It's also not even the last episode yet. So, yeah. But the things. Honestly, the bigger thing that I wasn't as into this episode, and I've got a feeling you'll be mixed on it as well, is Lennier.
Yeah, a little bit. I think they wanted to do another Londo angle where they're like, we're gonna get this person that we've set up to be super nice and super likable, and we're gonna make him a bad guy. But it's like, come on, it's the second to last episode, and who knows what the last episode is like. They're probably not going to waste any time like with this plot. So, I don't know.
I think for me, I don't know if I'd compare it to Londo per se, but I would say that it feels a little bit tacked on because it is just so late and we're not going to have much time to really do much with it. And I think the reason why it rings a little false is because we've never really been all that enthused with the whole Lennier's actually in love with the Len side of things. We've just kind of come to accept it, but I don't think we've ever liked it as a progression for his character. So having this weird moment where Sheridan is in a room with like a leak of some kind and Lennier has to let him out to save his life, and he has this moment of like, I could just let him die, and there's even a split second where I thought, wait, are they going to suggest that he even planned like this is his doing? And it turned out not to be like, no, but this was just like an opportunity that presented itself. But and he does like change his mind and goes back because he can't just let someone die. But the whole just thing kind of felt like, I don't know if Lennier needs this, and I feel like we're just assassinating his character a little bit right before the end of the show.
I do feel like it's a little bit cruel to his character. I don't know. Like, I guess not everybody has to be a golden boy in the show or whatever, but like, I just like though Lennier was such a strong character from the beginning, and like him like he just seemed like somebody who was at zen and had control of things, and this kind of stuff seems a bit petty for him, you know, like not accepting that the woman he loves is with somebody else. Like, come on, Lennier, you're an adult. she said no to you many times, and you're still like holding on to this. I thought that was I don't know, like it is a bit of an assassination of his character, and he's sort of just not very likable by the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how much of this was this season and how much of it was, because I think there was a little bit of it last season. I don't think it was completely introduced this time.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, I'd say that most of the stuff that's made it feel especially like bad has been this season. Like, you know, where I've just, for whatever reason, this direction they decided to go in. And I don't have a problem with the story of someone who presents himself as like the most goody two shoes type character, but actually has all these like things he's struggling with and you know, falls from grace, if you will. But it just, I don't know. Maybe it's just I've never clicked with this storyline. So this entire like, and it almost, and in this episode specifically, it felt kind of like, oh, we need some kind of plot for the episode beyond just a series of goodbyes, which is what it was up until that point. Kind of like how last episode had that assassination plot for the first half of the episode, and then it just went away. This was the opposite, where the first half didn't really have much in the way of plot. It was just all the goodbye stuff and like, you know, setting up what the post show is, and then all of a sudden halfway through the episode, oh, there's a problem on the ship, there's jeopardy. I guess we need to have a threat. And it didn't even last that long, all things considered. Like once like Sheridan breaks out the room with the pike, no less, or the pike'll, pike'll envy, that's what it was. He took it off the ranger who was in there.
I watched it.
Yeah. Were you not excited to see the pike?
It meant nothing to me.
You love the pike.
What?
You said it numerous times how much you love the pike.
I don't know what kind of joke you're trying to land here.
There's no joke.
I guess it's okay.
Lennier's got some pike envy. No.
Maybe.
All right. Excuse me for trying to have some levity. Jesus Christ. Oh, so telling a joke to a wall. So yes, so that was kind of your main threat, and Lennier, even just the way he kind of runs away in shame and like grabs a shuttle and like runs so he doesn't have to face like Sheridan for his actions. It all just felt a little bit pathetic. Lennier felt really pathetic this episode, and it made me sad.
I sort of wished he either like committed fully, and which would have still been an assassination of his character, but like he definitely comes off as like, oh no, I'm still the good guy, I'm going to go back and save him. Or if he goes to reach for the panel and he just hesitates for a moment that's long enough for Sheridan to register it, but not like kill him, I think that would have been more dramatic.
Yeah, just like for a moment he considered it, but he never like. Whereas here he actively decides to do it, runs away, and then goes, no, maybe I shouldn't. Like 30 seconds to a minute later.
Yeah, he's like 3 hallways down, and then decides to come back around, and Sheridan has saved himself at this point.
Yeah, and Delenn is shockingly understanding. She's like, you know what?
It's a bit much. Yeah.
Obviously, he did a bad thing, but you know, we all have those moments where we're going to regret that moment for the rest of our lives, and I feel like Lennier just had one of those.
I mean, he is super embarrassed. He runs away, but like it's still, it's still not. I don't know. It's not a great thing for his character, who was likable.
I feel like for the last season and a half, I've just been pitying Lennier. I don't like it.
No, and the Ranger thing isn't cool either, so we don't even have that for his character to fall back on.
The Rangers were never cool, right? Let's just get that out of the way right now. I love season 3, I do, but the Rangers themselves were never that cool, right? Maybe the problem is because the representation was Cole.
Gross. Don't you dare say that name again.
Yes, I believe fans of him refer to themselves as miners, as in coal miners. No?
I don't know if that's a real thing or not.
I don't think so.
Doubt it.
I'm just thinking, like Slipknot fans are called maggots, and don't ask me why. It's just something they come up with.
I don't know.
They're weird. Anywho, so because it's not like Lennier, or sorry, Lennier's not like Londo's. What I'm trying to say, Londo has this sense of tragedy, right? And there's like heartwarming, redemptive parts to him, but there's obviously this really, like, early on in the show, he went down this like really dark path, but that felt like his story was always going there. It always felt like that was what his trajectory was, yeah. Whereas Lennier, either because things changed, or maybe just like he wasn't written as strongly, or with the...
Maybe they just didn't know what to do with his character.
It does feel like it was like a shift at some point, that it wasn't always intended, and maybe it was, and it's just a failing of like how they wrote the character, that we don't feel it. But regardless, that's there. Speaking of Londo, we do see Londo this episode. He shows up on Minbar to welcome Sheridan and Delenn. And I really like this, actually, because at first it was kind of weird to see him again here, and I was like, oh, what's he up to? And I really like, though, that he asks for booze and he's disappointed there's none, because it clicked, and I went, oh, he knows that if he can get himself drunk, he can speak to them honestly. He already knows this, right?
Yeah.
That was cool. That was like, he wants to warn them and he can't, because as they've pointed out before, this was a season 1 joke with Lennier, that Minbari can't handle alcohol. They'll turn into murderous maniacs. So there's no booze on Minbar, which makes a lot of sense. And he's not allowed any until he's done his job, and then they give him some booze back on his ship as a treat for being a good little puppet.
I sort of wanted to see what that would look like, though. We never got any episode with the Minbari that accidentally consumed alcohol.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one-off episode, wouldn't it? Like not obviously one of the ones we know, but like a guest Minbar who was on the ship, and like, you know, someone like accidentally gave them some booze, like gremlins. You know, you don't feed them after midnight, and just like chaos reigns throughout the station. There's potential. But that was like obviously one of the two main things with Londo. The other, of course, was that he gives this sort of, it looks kind of earned, to be honest. I was getting earned vibes from this thing.
Yeah, me too.
But clearly this whole story's bullshit. It's very clear that this is something he's been told to give them. It's one of the parasite things, which they're supposed to give their child when they're of age, which by his standards is 16. And clearly the aliens want to take over the offspring of Sheridan and Delenn. So that's what that sets up. So I'm curious. What's interesting is if there's any like payoff to this, it's something that was in this final episode that was already done prior. So it's interesting to think all the seeds they might be planting here for something they already made a year ago in terms of production, and I think that's quite interesting. But we'll see.
Yeah, and now that we think about it, like their kid was, mentioned in that episode where they see where Sheridan goes into the future. But I don't think Londo ever warned them about their kid or that he was in danger.
Yeah, well, I wonder if maybe this threat here is taken care of before it actually happens to the kid. Maybe something stops the takeover, if you will. I don't know.
Hopefully. Or maybe also they're not royal family. They're the president, so there's no guarantee that the next of kin will also be president.
True. Well, I wasn't sure if it was about presidency though, necessarily. More just that they assume that this kid will be important, and if they have a hold of them from teenage years, then they can kind of have them go in whatever career path they want them to.
I suppose they could groom him. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's not like Londo where he's already like, and he's upper middle age and he's already got his career path. This is someone who they can actually, no, you're doing this at college and you're going to go down into these politics, so you're going to do this thing, like and I suppose someone with the cred of being Delenn and Sheridan's kid would have a lot of options open to them just because of who they came from.
Maybe.
So
he's going to be a nepo baby.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, I guess, but.
Not that I'm against nepo babies.
I don't think that's a far-fetched motive here.
No, I guess that's true. On the sadder side is that because he's part Minbari, he also won't be able to consume any alcohol. So he will have 0 breaks.
Maybe that's like part of the goal here. Maybe it's like this is someone they know who can never like hide from them.
Delenn sees it on on Londo though.
For-
She has a moment where she actually sees it.
it's for a moment, and it kind of feels like she forgets it afterwards. Like it's like it's almost like a deja vu kind of moment where she sort of sees it briefly, and then she sort of like snaps out of it.
It's filmed like she's hallucinating.
Yeah, so it's almost like the defenses broke down, and the alien realized and kind of like kicked her out. If that makes sense. And she's
maybe.
like, oh.
It would have been great if that little triangle thing showed up on her forehead, like in the first season, when she sees Morden for the first time. And he gets all shadowy, and she gets like a weird triangle pops up.
That was when she was filming Barry, though. Now she's half and half.
Yeah, it would be hidden under the bangs.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, those were the big thing. Obviously, Sheridan gives this speech. He records a speech for his kid because he realized that he might not be around when they're 21, given how long he's probably got left. So he makes this speech, and it sort of does a little montage of various characters. I did think, obviously, they've only got who they've got access to. But some of the shots were reused shots from earlier in the episode, and I thought it would have been worth using a shot of Ivanova here, because it felt weird to me that when he's making this speech of all the people that's been important, that she wouldn't also factor into that. And I'll just use a clip from an old episode, because literally the shot of Veer they use here was the scene from earlier this episode, so I'm like, just whatever. Like,
yeah, where was Poochie? No Poochie?
He wasn't important. Sheridan doesn't remember him. He hadn't even been a Zahadin.
He was important to our show, damn it.
He was important to no one or nothing. Oh dear. So yeah, the first half of the episode that we've kind of glossed over, it's basically, so we already had number one in the new, like, not even the head of, because Zach's the head of security, but the head of like intelligence for the Alliance thing, right? That's what number one is. But we also have Franklin passing the torch to an actress that I think we've seen with them in Medbay a few times. She's not a prominent character. Yeah. See, it was doing the pan across the bridge, and it was like, you know, okay, Bridge Boy, Zach, Lockley. We got our replacement for Jakar as well, of course, the samurai one.
Talon,
yeah. And it got to her, and I'm like, you stick out here as the odd one, where all these other characters had enough that it feels like, oh yeah, they feel like worthy, you know, in Veer, of course, for Londo's replacement, they all feel like worthy successors in various degrees. And then it gets to her, and I'm like, you were basically an extra, because they never did any other they never did like a I think I think the reason, and he kind of brings this up when he's talking to her, but she kind of challenged him once, I think, in an episode about one of his decisions, and I think
well, it's when he was going through his stim addiction.
Yeah. So
she had to like take over for him.
I think it's like, okay, she's the only other like doctor in Medbay who's ever like really had some lines of dialogue, so by default she's the right choice. But I'm like, I barely remember you versus these other characters, so you know.
Yeah, I definitely had to think about it, and like, I'm pretty sure that's the same woman.
You know, because even number one, well, she's relatively smaller than some of them. Like, you know, she had several episodes in the Mars stuff. You know, she has been around before. Lockley, of course, has been here all season. Like, the other Narn's been you know, he's had a few episodes with Jakar. Like, they've all had something, and obviously Veer's been there since the start, and Zach pretty much has been there too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think, I don't know about you, but I would have liked to have seen, you know, some of our favorites instead. Like, obviously Bridge Boy is supposed to be there. Would have nice. I guess he hasn't actually given the bat away, but like if we saw that he had his own bat, that'd be nice. Lockley is good to see there. Zach, because he's clearly the best character in the show. Even like the First Blood security guard. Like, if they could have gotten him back for a cameo, that would have been good. And obviously the Mantis, who's been
of course
MIA for like 4 seasons now. It's been really disappointing.
They should have done like a Force Ghost thing from Star Wars, where like David Warner's got his staff in the background that is a ghost. Maybe Ironheart, his like big face would be lit up.
Jeffrey Combs, he was there, and you know, with his to represent the Psy-Corps.
Yeah.
Psy-Corps.
Okay, on Psy-Corps, right. There has to be something.
Oh, we don't have Bester also.
There has to be something with Bester in this finale, right? Or at least they have to mention like some sort of fallout from it. This is insane if they don't. I'm actually, I won't be mad, because if they couldn't do it, they couldn't do it. But like, there has to be at least some reference to like how that stuff ended up. Well, that said though, maybe that stuff that Lita and Garibaldi set up for this for their story, maybe that was something they were setting up for something they already knew they paid off in this final episode.
Maybe, or maybe it's like maybe it's in one of the movies.
I don't think because the movie that's after the show is setting up Crusades, and then the other ones came much later, so I don't think so.
Okay. I
don't think so.
It'll probably be just a passing thing then.
Possibly.
Maybe in this new animated movie.
Possibly. So what else do we have here? We had a few scenes of Franklin walking to the spaceship all sad. Same with Delenn and Sheridan. Sheridan having his one last look at the station and doing the salute, all that stuff. Making a speech. He wanted to leave quietly, but the press wouldn't let that happen, so he ends up with a crowd.
I think I saw Peter Jurassic in the crowd.
Oh, without his makeup?
Yeah.
That's nice.
I mean, it could have been like it was someone who just looked like him, but like that seems odd. So it probably was him.
Yeah, maybe it was just a fun little cameo since it was... Because I guess this was the last episode they shot, if you think about it. So for them making the show, this would have been like the bittersweet ending, in a way. We've got one more episode, but they already shot that a year ago. So this if anything...
This was the wrap party episode.
Yeah, this might have been the last day on set, was when they... I mean, maybe not a specific scene, but it could have been. This could have been like, oh, yeah, okay, we've cut cameras, let's all, start drinking. Set them in Barry, you're not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Mooney's like, I'm not. But Bill Mooney's sitting there going, I'm not a method actor.
Please, I have no work.
Oh dear. Yeah, I think it is kind of an odd structure, because it's like, I feel like the first 15-20 minutes are just kind of continuing the goodbye train of last episode and setting up, okay, who's taking this position, who's taking that position. Sheridan says goodbye to Lockley and stuff like that. It's all very nice and whatever. And then you sort of shoehorn this bit with Lennier in to give us some tension for the middle of the episode. But then we get to to Mimbar, and I was like, I did not expect to see us arrive at Mimbar. I was actually kind of shocked that we even got a few scenes where it's like, oh, we're on Mimbar now. This is the start of our life.
They've got purple mountains. It's pretty.
But we get the Londo stuff, and all of these things are mostly fine on their own, but is an episode as a whole with a plot that ups and downs and crescendos, it's kind of a weird pacing, I would say, as an episode. So I appreciate it for what it is, and I think if you're binge watching the show, this is absolutely fine. I think as a standalone episode of TV, it feels a little bit weird from a pacing and structure perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of episodes in this series kind of falls into that, though. They always feel like they're just short of the goal line of what they want it to be, and what I want it to be also.
What do you mean, this season?
Honestly, a lot of episodes feel that way. There's just something missing for me. I don't know. I mean, I hope that the finale is great and satisfying, but there's something about this show that always feels a little bit amateur. And they needed another go.
Whoa. I love how you're dropping this in the second last episode so people can't be mad at you for too long.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of fans and stuff out there, and I saw some of them at Comic-Con also, and I don't know. I definitely like the show, and it was definitely worth the watch, and I'm glad I own it now. I'll watch it again one day, but there's just something a little bit goofy and amateur about it, the whole show, that I wish that there was not like another producer or something that's going to change things up too much, because I like that it has a mostly singular voice, but somebody with more TV experience maybe to give some input on things.
I think on a rewatch, because you brought that up there, I do think this will be very satisfying on a rewatch, because the entire thing has set up not only its plot and paid it off, but it's also established the world that existed before, and it's very well established what a lot of the story is going to be after the show is done. And I kind of appreciate that. It feels like a much more full world that this show exists in because of that. without necessarily the need to actually, someday do a sequel where you see all these stories actually take place. I'm sure we might get some of it in the finale, don't get me wrong, but like I suspect there will be a lot left open, a lot of things that are just kind of like teases and hints of like where things will go. And I also, and equally, we don't need prequels, giving us more in-depth stuff for a lot of the backstory. It's kind of nice. In fact, well,
we did have a prequel, and it kind of made things worse.
Well, I don't think it made things worse, but yeah, like in the beginning, I don't think we liked very much. It's fair to say. And I don't think it really matters that much. If anything, on a rewatch, I'd probably just skip that and not bother with it, because it just kind of interrupted the pacing, and I don't think it really added anything to it.
Not really.
Whereas I think the other standalone movies were fun. Admittedly, I don't know where I'd put them now. I mean, I guess technically that last one would go after at least this episode, if not the finale. But I'm not so sure it'd feel like, I feel like the finale I'm expecting to feel like a proper goodbye, and I don't think I would like watching like a standalone movie with a fun sort of B-movie style plot. Like after that, it would feel kind of weird and like I'm like opening the coffin up kind of thing, and I don't think I want that. I think I would probably put it at least before the finale so that I can like have the final episode be the actual goodbye, because it was the same. I can compare it actually to Battlestar Galactica did this thing where the show ended, right, and it had and some people are very divisive on how it ended, but regardless, it had this big finale, it had this big ending. And like a year later, maybe 2 years later, they did like a TV movie called The Plan, and it was kind of jumping around and like inserting scenes in a lot of different parts of the timeline, and it was awful. Like it was just like this like needless thing that didn't need to exist, and it just felt like, if you're going to like give me something else that's supposed to be a continuation of this universe, then like this just feels so unnecessary and just existing for the sake of producing something else with this name on it. And well, I don't think either of those movies were anywhere near the quality of that. I do think it would feel a little bit like you're resurrecting something for no reason. I mean, hell, we're recording this in the day that they just announced there's going to be a Toy Story 5, because all the new movies that Pixar make are all bombing.
What?
Yeah, that was announced.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm less mad about it than I was about the fourth one being announced.
Yeah, but the fourth one was another goodbye movie. They've said goodbye twice now.
And it was good. I really did enjoy 4, but like when they announced 4, everybody was just kind of groaned and went like you're going to screw with this perfect trilogy. Why?
They're chancing their
and
luck.
That's already been messed with, so now I'll go see it.
It's just very cynical though, because it's like their new film Elementals or whatever it's called is like tracking for a really bad box office, and it's like, oh, we have to go back to the safe IP, It's
only because there's so much stuff out right now that it's hard to keep up. Like I go to the movies a lot, and I'm behind on Spider-Man. I went and saw Transformers because we had to watch it, but there's other things I want to see. Another, what's it called? Another Life? Not Another Life. The South Korean English movie. I can't remember. But there's like Past Lives. And like there's like a bunch of stuff out right now because it's the beginning of the summer films, or we're into like actual summer, so everything's coming out, and that's the only reason why I haven't seen Elemental. And it's on my list, but I'm probably going to get to it in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, so all that was just to say that like I think on rewatches I'd probably include the later 2 movies that we did, but I'd probably slot them in maybe. I suppose Third Space you could slot in somewhere in season 3, like where it's supposed to go. I'm sure. I'm sure there's like somewhere online that'll just tell you it should fit between these 2 episodes, and that's where you just put it. And that's probably the best place to put it, to be honest.
I mean, and speaking of more content with Babylon 5, we also got the trailer for the new film.
Yeah, for the animated movie. Yeah.
Did you check it out?
I did have a quick glance. I will say the animation style's not thrilling me.
Me neither. It looks like Breath of the Wild in animation style. It's okay. It looks like Spider-Verse for Babylon 5.
Yeah, but Spider.
Well, I'm glad the fans are going to have something new. That's exciting with a lot of the with the cast that's still around.
What do you mean though? It doesn't look anything like Spider-Verse. What do you mean by that?
Not animation style. I mean, like story wise, we're getting a multiverse.
Oh, okay. No, because I am really fussy. I've realized with 2D animation, like I like it and I prefer it over like just everything being CG. But a lot of the stuff that gets made, and it tends to be these like DC Comics animated movies, like a lot of them just look like shit, and it's they just look mediocre. But obviously it's very low budget as it it only exists for that reason effectively. So hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's a good story. Given that it's been so long since any like Babylon 5 on-screen content's really been made, I suspect that JMS was like itching to like write something, and it's probably got a lot of love and passion in it. So hopefully it's good. But we'll have another voice for Delenn and things like that, because yeah, we
didn't hear her in the trailer. We heard Franklin, but not her.
Yeah. You see her though. She's definitely there.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah,
they look interesting.
Yeah, just on this episode, I guess the one thing that I wanted to mention that we've glossed over is Garibaldi's weird approach to running a company, where he comes in and just sort of promotes all the troublemakers because they challenge things and he wants to be challenged.
He's gonna regret that.
I feel like I kind of like, in some warped way, I get your logic here, but I still think they're probably just a bunch of complainers.
Yeah, why not just have like people who are good at their job be promoted also, like, or people who take like initiative, not just like trying to brown nose, but like I've done these extra things because it is legitimately helpful for the company.
I think
you're good.
I think a mix of types would be good. A couple of people who challenge things, a couple of people who know how things have been run and are good at running them.
Yeah.
So on and so forth.
Sounds like you're gonna have a lot of heads button.
That's good though.
In meetings and stuff.
That's good though, because you want.
But from everybody.
Well, yeah. Well, the whole point is that he wants to change the company, so you need the old and the new to like sort of like reach whatever this new system's going to be.
Sure, but if he only challenges the people who are, or only promotes the people who are challenging, then it sounds like you're going to have a lot of people who are just arguing a lot. I'm right. No, I'm right. Maybe he just wants to recreate what it was like to have all the ambassadors together in one room on Babylon 5 in like season 1. Maybe that's what he's really longing for.
But with lower stakes, 'cause it's just a company and not, saving the galaxy.
Yeah, the galaxy.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just making a suggestion that was better than what he did. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want a room full of brown nosers, as you put it. So a mix of both, I think, would probably actually cause some change. With lots of yelling, no doubt, but change nonetheless.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't have much to add. I think this episode and last episode have been kind of like, because they haven't had as much in the way of just like what's that word, plot, as most episodes do. They are kind of weird to talk about. They're more like like I say, a checklist of like goodbye things that they wanted to do before the final episode. And it's nice that I had this time. Most shows don't get to have 2 episodes like this and then also have a finale. They tend to have to squeeze a lot of it in and condense it. So it's a bit of a victory lap in a weird way that could be seen as a little self-indulgent. But honestly, if you've been enjoying the show and you're here at the end of 5 seasons, you're probably quite happy to indulge them in a victory lap. So
totally. Too bad they turned Lennier into a little wiener, but oh well.
Little wiener. That's what we're going with, is it?
Little weenie boy.
It's nicer than the phrase I was thinking when I was watching the episode, I suppose. There was more swearing in mine. But yes, that is...
He definitely would be on some forums if you were around right now.
I mean, I think that's maybe going a bit far, but I could see the comparison you might be making. Yes. Anyway, that's the episode. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. You can, of course, get us on Twitter at @mailed_fuzz for channel updates, and you can support all the content over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv and help keep it all coming. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.